Hi, my name is Joyce Parker, WBO champion of the world, and you're watching Sporting Icons.
All right, I hope everybody is doing fantastic and having a great day, of course. So the WBO have finally released their new rankings for the month of June. Now, the last to do so out of the four major alphabet sanctioning bodies. Quite why they're the last ones, who knows, but better late than never. I've already covered videos of the WBA, the IBF, and the WBC. So go check out those videos if you haven't seen them already. Once this one is completed, then you're fully up to speed as to what's going on with what fights have recently happened, of course, to justify certain rankings potentially, what fights are coming up. And of course, we get to talk about certain fighters that maybe don't necessarily get the headlines. Hopefully, and this is what I always say about these sanctioning bodies, these are probably the most important videos that you could possibly watch. Nobody else here on YouTube is doing it, so make sure you are subscribed, because you do get to have a broader view of the landscape of the heavyweight division. So when it comes up to, you know who I'm talking about on social media or in the comment section of certain videos, people who seem to think that they know it all, well, you will know it all. So you can school them in any kind of debates that you have. Okay, now I'm going to go through the top 15 for the WBO, see what fights are coming up, have a bit of a chat about certain fighters. Again, we're going to talk about fighters that don't necessarily get the headlines, okay, but certain fights are coming up as well, which also don't get the headlines, all right? You will know before most people. Anyway, the WBO World Heavyweight Champion is Oleksandr Usyk. Of course, he's a unified champion, meaning he holds the WBA and the IBF World Heavyweight titles as well. He also holds the lesser belt of the IBO. Some people believe it shouldn't be a lesser belt, but officially it is. Anyway, he's got that rematch coming up with Anthony Joshua, who incidentally is ranked number 4 on these rankings. So spoiler alert before we go down the top 15. He's going to be top fighting Anthony Joshua on August the 20th in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, for that rematch. Incidentally, there will be a press conference today live from Saudi Arabia involving both Anthony Joshua and Oleksandr Usyk, along with Eddie Hearn and whoever else is going to be at the table. Okay, so go check out that one later on. Anyway, number 1 is Joyce, the WBO mandatory, the juggernaut. Number 2, Joseph Parker. Number 3, Frank Sanchez. Number 4, Anthony Joshua. Number 5, Luis Ortiz. Number 6, Zhilei Zhang. Number 7, Michael Hunter. Number 8, fresh insert, Otto Wallin. Number 9, Dempsey McKean. Number 10, Ali Erendemirzian. Number 11, Ajit Kabiel. Number 12, Filip Hrgovic. Number 13, Jermaine Franklin, fresh insert. Number 14, Martin Bakole, again, another fresh insert. And number 15, Vladislav Serenko. So there's the top 15 for the WBO in the heavyweight division for the month of June. Dropped out of this month are 3 people: Evgeny Romanov, Daniel Dubois, and Andy Ruiz Jr. Now, Romanov, I believe he's got that fight coming up with Oscar Rivas for the WBC Bridgerweight world title. So that would explain why Romanov has been dropped, because obviously he's now no longer a heavyweight, he's a Bridgerweight. Daniel Dubois recently defeated Trevor Bryan to become the WBA regular world heavyweight champion. And as I said when he became champion, that this is what the sanctioning body is going to do. So those who don't believe Daniel Dubois is a real world champion, again, you can continue that if you like. But the other sanctioning bodies, who of course do make the decisions in boxing, unfortunately at times, do recognise him as a legitimate world champion. So Daniel Dubois will only be ranked by the WBA going forward. Okay, Andy Ruiz Jr., why he's been dropped, no idea. I can only presume down to inactivity. But he does have a fight coming up with King Kong Luis Ortiz. Conflicting dates at the minute. September the 4th has been put out there, and has September the 24th. Apparently it's going to be in Los Angeles. So what day it's going to be, we really have to wait for the official announcement. Anyway, those are the 3 gentlemen dropped out. So the fresh inserts for this month, we can start off with number 14, Martin Bakole. Now, he absolutely dominated, destroyed Tony Yoka, the 2016 Rio Olympic gold medalist in the super heavyweight division from France. And he did it in France, Tony Yoka's home country, home city of Paris. Martin Bakole looked spectacular in that fight. And because he dominated him, hopefully now he will get a big fight, a decent payday, and against somebody who we all know and would love to see Martin Bakole fight. So it's going to be interesting to see what moves Martin Bakole has. And ultimately, I believe he's actually a free agent now that MTK Global have closed their doors. So any promoter out there can approach Martin Bakole about having a fight. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of fight Martin Bakole has. Is he going to be fighting, say, a Dillian Whyte? Is he going to fight, say, Joseph Parker, who's recently signed with Boxer on Sky Sports? Maybe Joyce. That could be a fight. there's plenty of other options out there for Martin Bakole. Hopefully, one of them give Martin Bakole a fight. The other fresh insert is number 13, Jermaine Franklin, undefeated, 20-0 from America, which is fantastic. I always like to see Americans in the rankings, especially in the heavyweight division. And I do feel that boxing does need American heavyweights. Okay, I don't know why, maybe it's a historical thing, but I think it is important. But unfortunately for them, there's not a lot coming through. So really, it is kind of down to Jermaine Franklin and big baby Jared Anderson as to maybe one of these fellas could go on to do something great in the sport of boxing. Of course, we're talking somewhat prospects coming through. Unfortunately, to Kerry Scott, who was 7-0, is now 7-1. He lost by knockout to Jonathan Guidry. So that's very unfortunate for Kerry Scott. But Jermaine Franklin, 20-0, is it 14 knockouts, something like that? But he hasn't fought anybody that really stands out. He's fought decent journeymen, if you like, such as a Jerry Forrest, a Rydell Booker, for example. But outside of that, you probably won't want to recognise any of the names. So I'd like to see Jermaine Franklin, and because he's 20-0, fight somebody that we go, oh, that's an interesting fight. Maybe an all-USA clash, him and Jared Anderson. That would be an interesting one. Is there any reason why that can't happen? Of course, there's probably going to be some boxing politics as to why it can't happen. But if not, just look at the top 15 for the WBO and maybe fight somebody there. Maybe fight Ajit Kabiel. He's without an opponent at the minute. Maybe fight Vladislav Serenko. He's without an opponent at the minute, as far as I'm aware. Why not? I'd like to see him justify this top 15 position. And maybe he can. The other fresh insert is number 8, Otto Wallin. So he jumped quite high, he did, from not being ranked in the top 15 to suddenly now being ranked number 8. Otto Wallin, of course, ever since he lost to Tyson Fury, where he really took Tyson Fury to hell in a handbasket, gave Tyson Fury and many Tyson Fury fans the fight of their life in that one, okay? But he has had some decent wins coming back, like a Dominant Brazil, for example, is probably the best win that he's had since that fight. But I've seen him. I was there. I was actually backstage in the locker room and that with Otto Wallin in Cardiff when Otto Wallin was taking on Kamil Sokolowski. Didn't look great in that fight, but I think a lot of that may be down to inactivity or who knows. But I'd like to see Otto Wallin fight somebody pretty good now. I'd like to see him maybe resurrect that fight with Dillian White. Maybe fight a Ajit Kabiel. And listen, you can get a European heavyweight title on the line for that one. I'm sure Joyce will probably vacate that one in due course. There's plenty of fights. Maybe a Otto Wallin versus Martin Bakole. They can put that on a PBC show. They can put that on a BT Sports show or a Sky Sports show or a Matchroom show, okay? Both of them are somewhat free agents in a way. Yes, of course, Otto Wallin, he's managed promoted by Dimitri Salita, but he doesn't have a fight platform, if that makes sense. Although predominantly a lot of Salita's fights do happen on the PBC. Anyway, I'd like to see Otto Wallin fight somebody in the top 15 of this organisation or another. Now, outside of the fresh inserts, number 10, Ali Erin Demirzian. He's jumped up 3 positions. Now, he's 15-1. I've forgotten who it is that he lost. I believe it was F.A. Jagba. I believe he lost to F.A. Jagba. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that one. If not, then it was probably a Tony Yoka or something like that. But either way, he's got a fight coming up on July the 30th, I believe it is, at the Barclays Center in New York City against Adam Kownacki. Adam Kownacki, of course, 2 losses back-to-back to Robert Helenius. Now, Adam Kownacki was supposed to have taken on Derek Chisora. Everything was done. Everything was agreed. All they had to do was put ink on the contract. Adam Kownacki didn't, for whatever reason. So he's pulled out of a Derek Chisora fight to fight Ali Erin Demirzian. Reasons being, who knows? I imagine Al Heyman and the PBC's got a lot to say about that one. But either way, that is the fight. Adam Kownacki versus Ali Erin Demirzian on July the 30th. Is it the headliner? I'm not sure, because there are some pretty good fighters on that card, but currently they're without opponents. So maybe this is going to be the headline. We'll have to wait and see. Any other kind of news coming up? Well, Zhilei Zhang, he's been boosted up to 3 positions to number 6. So he was number 9, now he's number 6. But again, he did fight, should we call him a journeyman, last time out on the Matchroom show. But he was supposed to have fought Filip Hrgović. Now, the Filip Hrgović-Zhilei Zhang fight was supposed to have happened on the Canelo Alvarez-Dimitri Bivol undercard. But unfortunately for Filip Hrgović, his father passed away. Obviously, that took a huge hit to his training camp, so they made the decision to pull out, reschedule the fight. So we'll have to wait and find out what date that is going to be taking place on. Unless, of course, it's already been announced and I've missed it. If I have, drop it in the comment section. So that'll be for the vacant IBF mandatory position. Filip Perkovic versus Zhilei Zhang. Michael Hunter, number 7. He's been boosted up by 1 position. Now, he's supposed to have taken on Hughie Fury on July the 2nd, but unfortunately for Hughie Fury, he had to pull out due to an illness. I'm not going to tell you what the illness was. It's nothing major, but it certainly hampered his training camp, especially so close to the fight with July the 2nd. So Michael Hunter and Hughie Fury, obviously, is now going to be rescheduled. I believe it's for November the 12th. Don't quote me on that one, but I believe that's the date that I'm hearing. Okay, so we'll have to wait and see, which does seem quite a long way away. November the 12th seems quite long, so maybe Michael Hunter could have a fight in between. Maybe. Okay, so again, we'll have to keep our eyes and ears close to the ground as to what's going to be happening with Michael Hunter. Number 5, Luis Ortiz. He's been moved up 2 positions. I don't know why he's been moved up 2 positions, but he has. But as I said before, he's got that fight coming up with Andy Ruiz Jr. We're waiting for the official date and venue and whatever else. But as I said before, we're hearing Los Angeles, and it's either September the 4th or September the 24th. Is it a Saturday or is it a Sunday? We'll have to wait and find out. Outside of that, not too much changes, not too much coming on, other than, of course, number 4, Anthony Joshua against the Oleksandr Usyk for their rematch on August the 20th. That's a press conference today. So you are pretty much up to date. I mean, of course, we can talk about number 1, Joe Joyce, if you like. Joe Joyce, he's got a fight coming up on July the 2nd on the Frank Warren Queensberry show against Christian Hammer. Now, Joe Joyce, he did come out after quite some time with that wrist injury where he was ready to fight Joseph Parker. Everything was done, everything was agreed. Again, just needed to put pen to paper on the contract. But Joseph Parker pulled out of that fight, apparently because his trainer, Andy Lee, his wife, was having a baby around the time that they were supposed to be having a fight. So Joe Joyce is going to keep busy by fighting Christian Hammer. But there is talk about Joe Joyce potentially fighting Tyson Fury in October. So Frank Warren and Bob Arum get their way, Tyson Fury versus Joe Joyce. But Joe Joyce, he could just sit on this position for the WBO and just wait for the world title shot for either Usyk or Joshua. But due to the rotation system, he could well be waiting for quite some time. The WBA is up next, Dan Dubois, then the IBF, so winner of Perkovic and Zhilei Zhang, then Joe Joyce. So Joe Joyce, obviously, if there's an opportunity for him to fight a world title against Tyson Fury beforehand, of course you're going to take it, aren't you? So we'll have to wait and see. Number 2, Joseph Parker. As I said, he pulled out that fight with Joe Joyce. Hey, listen, maybe he can be resurrected. Maybe. But of course, now he's signed with boxer Sky Sports, Ben Shalom. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of path they take for Joseph Parker. Maybe he could end up having that rematch with Dillian Whyte. Maybe a fight with Martin Bacoli. That's a fight that I'd certainly watch. And maybe a couple of others. Okay, so now you're fully up to speed as to what's going on in the heavyweight division for the month of June within the WBO. Make sure you are subscribed. Click a thumbs up while you're there. Little notification bell as well if you want to. Either way, drop yourself a comment. Make sure you are subscribed. Do it right now. Catch you on the next video.